All right, welcome to this digression session with Erik and Tyler. What's up, Erik?
Hello. Not too much, Tyler. What's up with you?
Nothing much. I'm feeling kind of sucky.
A little sucky.
We're talking about Nosferatu, the
Yeah,
new Robert Eggers, the Eggman himself.
egg bandit.
Um,
Killing it.
his retelling of the movie we're watching in silence right now. It's a silent movie.
Naruto, dude? So she's
No, it's
it's a Naruto.
directed by F.W. Murnau. It says right there. This
Yeah.
old-fashioned vampire zombie kind of tale.
It is it's legitimately just Dracula. They just changed a few names and named it Nosferatu instead. And then they got fucking sued to oblivion or whatever, and all copies were ordered destroyed. But some survived, and that's how we have that movie today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, like, if you watch slash read Dracula, and then you watch a Nosferatu movie, you'll notice it's basically the same ass story.
It is, yeah.
Uh,
And we as Fargonauts, we watched the Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola not too
and and
long
we
ago.
watched the Bela Lugosi Dracula
Yeah,
as
so
well.
not too long ago we watched a few Dracula
So a couple
Vampire
Draculas
Boys.
all things. Yep.
And then yeah, Bradshaw and I went to the film together. It was probably during
Yep.
Christmas ish break.
Yeah. It
Not
was.
not too long after its release.
Yeah.
But what did you think about the Robert Eggers movie?
Great. Awesome.
Have you
Excellent.
have you seen the original?
Excellent.
Have you seen this
Yeah.
original one?
Yeah.
Do you think it followed it pretty closely? Because I'd
I mean, for
say
the most part.
I'd say yeah, similar characters and
Again, it's
beats.
Dracula, so it's the same. You know, we've got the same characters and beats for the most part. Um,
Well,
because it
let's go deeper though,
the Kit
because
Kat.
yeah, it's a good cat. There was a few cats in the one we watched too. So hey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's because it is just as much an homage to this movie, to the Herzog movie, to Dracula, stuff like that. Uh, but it definitely owes the most because that's that interview you shared with me after we watched it.
oh yeah, yeah,
He's talking about how like all those movies obviously inspired him, but like the only one he like constantly referred to or watched the most is the OG Nosferatu,
mm-hmm.
uh, and so that serves the most inspiration. But he was going like he was researching different lore, folklore attached to vampires,
Right,
uh, and that's how you get like his appearance in this movie, which is more like corpse like because some of the oldest like legends of vampires, and I think maybe from that area maybe is that they're basically like just living corpses,
yeah,
or
yeah,
undead corpses. And so like that's how you get his appearance where he's got that kind of like his legs are all skeletal and like he looks like he's fucking
emaciated.
deteriorating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and he's yeah,
pruning up.
and he's wasting away because he is. Um, yeah, and then I like how he just went deep into like, okay, so like with the visual on him to make him more uh, like location appropriate, like for and culturally appropriate for what his um, look and costume was. Um, stuff like that where he didn't just do you know how do I just do my spin on Nosferatu. It's he dug deeper into folklore, the culture of the area, all the stuff, and like in different types of film, um, to like piece together what that this movie is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he talked about it.
Was it expressionist movies?
Yeah,
something.
German expressionist. That's definitely where he
Yeah,
was going. But
and
also,
he used a lot of those Polish movies too that you're talking about,
yep, yep,
and that he
heavy
talks about
influence
in
on
that
that.
interview. Yeah,
He
and
likes
they
to
show
dive into the occult himself. I think he
yes,
really gets lost in that world.
he's just horribly interesting to him. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, so he did. Yeah, like I said, it's not just he remade Nosferatu. It's he put new context and spins on things, and the tone is probably one of my favorite parts of the movie. Period is just the tone and the feeling of the movie.
yeah.
Um,
Did it feel oppressive? Did it feel like
it did.
it was really
It
like
felt oppressive. It felt
insufferable?
claustrophobic at times.
Right.
It felt, yeah, it felt, spoopy. There was definitely the spooky feeling to it.
Did it feel like you're
Um,
succumbing to darkness?
yeah, yep. And it was dark, but not in a bad way. Like, like sometimes people use dark to mask things, or they'll use dark like mask things budgetarily, or they'll like it just gets, I don't know if it's in the editing or what, just gets too dark and you can't see shit happening. That's not the case with this. At least, like, I'm sure you could probably find a movie theater where they showed it and they had it probably a little too dark, but you could see everything.
Yeah.
And I think, like, and I like his use of lighting in it, where it was like they were using period appropriate lighting in the places to light the scenery. Um,
Yeah, yeah. We'll get to darkness and talking about that real quick, but you're talking about like the foot candles that they used, or like the old
mhm.
style like Barry Lyndon
Yeah,
style like lighting. They actually, I think,
yeah,
procured a specialized lens. I think the cinematographer talked about it a little bit,
mhm.
that he got this specific lens that was,
Works better in low lighting.
yeah, where like you have to have a really good focus puller though, like cuz it's
Yeah,
really tough to keep that focus in that low of lighting. But let's quick go to a yeah, a little clip of darkness, okay? So
Little
let's
darkness. Oh yeah,
I'm the Shadow Man. I sneak and I creep. I'm the Shadow Man. I'll eat all your apples. I'm the Shadow Man. I'll steal
I mean,
your book. I'm the
yeah,
Shadow Man. Look at my fingers. I'm the Shadow Man. I'm going to plunge the world into darkness.
so
I mean,
darkness, yeah. So
yeah. That's the movie right there.
that basically he is throughout the
The Shadow
movie
Man.
Ellen, Lily Rose Depp's character, is
Yeah,
gonna basically, she prays at the very beginning. She's like praying for somebody to help her from some kind of catastrophe in her life. Like she's at a crossroads, and she's just
yeah,
praying to whoever will listen. And she comes out
yeah,
of the darkness, which is really creepy and eerie. And the only person to, I guess, answer that call is like Orlok. He like tethers
yeah,
himself to that prayer, and he and
yeah,
her are like bound together then throughout the movie. And I
yeah,
think we can talk about the symbolism a little bit, that throughout the history of retellings of Dracula and just or vampires and stuff, they put their
yeah,
own spin on, like, oh, he represents blood pathogen disease, or he represents sexually oppressed, or the
yeah,
predatory nature of men, or whatever,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
in this one I think it's more her manifestation of her despair or depression, or just like
right.
mania.
It brought
Like,
about this demon.
yeah, she brought about some kind of darkness, or her shadow self, like
Yeah,
Shadow Man. She brought forth Shadow Man,
yeah,
and Shadow Man came to eat her poop and make
yeah,
her look at his fingers, and eat all her apples. And that's really
yeah.
sucky, because I'm sure back then they didn't really keep their apples that long. You had to eat them
No,
like right away.
I just took apples as in like that's like your blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or your knowledge, like
Yeah,
taking your sanity, I guess, maybe too. Um,
yeah,
but I like that aspect of like making it a fairy tale, but making it not just about
Gothic fairy tale.
a gothic fairy tale, but not just about like face value, like, oh, here's a plague upon mankind, but here is Ellen
It's like her
having
inner
so
turmoil.
hard. Yeah, she's going so hard with her inner demons, and the only way to do it is to succumb to darkness, which that
And
is
it
the
affects the
tagline,
world around her.
which is true because
Essentially.
when
Yeah.
her husband Thomas, or not husband, but like boyfriend, or I don't know if they're newly married. Is that right?
It's fucking yeah. It's again, it's the same thing as Dracula. So
But like his
it's fucking
Thomas's
what's his name?
character,
Mina and fucking what's his nuts. But yeah, they're freshly married.
freshly married. They are married. So like
I
when
think.
he leaves, she starts having
Yeah.
these fits again. But like when
Yeah.
he's
Because that's like
there,
her depression and her despair.
right? And you feel it a lot more. And this portrayal of Mina Ellen, Lily Rose
Yeah.
Depp's character, you see her have these like convulsions and these fits of mania and just things that at the time were
She
just
fucking kills it in this.
yeah, she goes all out to depict these hysteria, I guess it would be, or
Mhm.
what they called melancholia back then, where it was just
Yeah.
basically depression, but she's also having these crazy fits and rages and things like that. But people like said, "Oh,
Yeah.
we just have to tie her down, or like we have
Yep.
to tighten her corset and, do bondage to make her
Yeah.
like stop these
Basically,
things."
basically by keeping her down, it just makes it worse.
Right.
And then by the end, you basically she has a job to do, but she's set free to make that decision, right?
Right.
So it's her little final bit of freedom, essentially.
Yeah, the tagline
Uh,
was "Succumb to Darkness," and at the end of
Yeah.
the film, I mean, she does have to
But
marry her depression. Essentially, she's
Yeah.
succumbing to it by getting her bridal gown on and getting some flowers and being like,
Yeah.
"Come here," And then
Come hither.
what we really loved was that I remember talking to you a little bit about it. Like, it was so dark, and you talked about darkness, like Shadow Man.
Yeah.
But at the end, that beautiful ray of light, that warming
Mhm.
light of love, was essentially, it was love that killed the beast, kind of thing. So it was
Yep.
a tale as old as time.
Yep. And I mean, it was there. It was a final. There was a finality to what she did, but it was her coming out of that darkness, or bringing, yeah. So it was bringing things into the light.
I'm going to plunge the world into darkness.
No, you won't. Oxros will protect us. We shine a light upon you.
The light. The light. Burn. The light.
So
Again,
That-
that was pretty much
how it ended.
beat for beat the end of the movie right there.
Yeah. Honestly, there was a lot of
Pretty much.
gyrating and light being shown and
Yeah.
yelling.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a great way to like kind of have that final shot of just that, like what Willem Dafoe's character looks at, the Van Helsing or whatever is
Yeah.
Von Franz character, like looks through the book, his fairy tale book of the occult, and he's like, "Oh, look,
Yeah.
I'm gonna read the story of Nosferatu," which coincidentally is what is it? Like an old Germanic word for insufferable. So I mean,
Yeah.
when we were talking about oppression and things like that, it's basically that's what it translates out to. Is that
Yeah.
he looks at the fairy tale, he's like, "Oh, there's a lady and a Nosferatu looking vampire dude in bed." Like, oh, I wonder if that's how it's gonna end.
Yeah.
I think that's
He was great. He was great in this too.
he went
Everybody
wild.
was great in this, but But yeah, he was. I always smiled when I saw Willem Dafoe on the screen.
Same. Well, his line where he's like, "Schnapps," where he,
Yeah, stop.
he
He was the
talked about this horrible stuff, and he's like, schnapps.
well, he brought levity to this stuff a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like he was. Everyone else was so kind of morose and dark, and he always had a little bit of light to him.
Yeah. Did you catch any when that guy, forgot his name, but the dude that worked at that realtor office or whatever his name was,
Mm-hmm.
was it Von Lock or something like that? Air Canuck or something?
Something like that.
He was summoning a
Mm-hmm.
demon, the Zalmoxes, I think it was.
Okay.
Did you catch that? That old,
Oh.
yeah, Romanian.
Is that supposed?
Uh,
Okay, I was gonna say is he supposed to be a? Because like Eggers was saying that he was treating Nosferatu as this demon come to Earth.
yeah,
So I wonder if that's supposed to how that connects. If that's supposed to be like what the demon is that is in Orlok or what. But
yeah. I don't know all about Zalmoxes, but it's definitely like a old Romanian, so like early. What did they say? Uh, Dacian, I think it's called. I was going to say Danish, but it's Dacian, which was
okay.
pre-Romanian
Mm-hmm.
god Zalmoxes, and there's some crazy looking imagery of that character. So that dude was trying to summon Zalmoxes or like just throw that in there, and that added more, I don't know, dire significance to the events, I guess, because maybe it has
Mm-hmm.
something to do with that plague that also came to town, just like Santa Claus.
Right. The rats done. He just came with his rats.
Yeah.
And yeah, symbolically, brought the kind of a black plague, bubonic plague, whatever shadow over Germany.
Brought the Shadow Man.
That's again, they did it. They made it take place in Germany because like in the original, because obviously they were shooting it in Germany. So instead of having to have like make it look like London or whatever, like in Dracula,
Mm-hmm.
they just did it in Germany.
How'd you feel about and here's an interesting take on biting on the chest by the heart as opposed to on the neck.
Yeah.
Because whenever I think about vampires, I'm like, oh, so they really are neck romancers, right? Because they're just, there's double entendre happening there.
Yeah.
But the biting into the chest or like right by the heart, I think has more significance and kind of more interesting than just like, oh, a lovely neck, huh? You're showing me this beautiful neck that's all soft and whatever.
Right.
There's more like bestial kind of imagery that comes when you have like this leech on your heart, sucking the
I was gonna say it's
out.
almost more visceral, more violent seeming. And of course it's at the source. I mean, you can look at with the symbology of the movie too, and what symbolically the heart represents.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that too. Also, I think part of it too is like the biting of the neck thing has such a connection with the like sexier side of vampires. You know what I mean?
Exactly, but it also
And
the
this is
jugular and
not
things
that.
like that.
Yeah, yeah, but that's you see that there's the shot of the oftentimes you see Dracula or whatever, and it has the woman exposing her neck and him coming in on it. It's almost like it's a sexier because Dracula is much more of the, as we've seen in stuff, like he uses this kind of more
the light.
like that. He uses the wiles. He entices. He seduces. Right. Where this is very much not that. This is a demon. This is an animalistic, scourge. And it point out. I don't think he had he didn't have the like the classic, Nosferatu teeth. But like we were talking about on the way out, I was like, it kind of the classic Nosferatu look was very kind of rodent like, and
Right,
to
yeah.
have the ties to the rats, it makes a lot of sense too, right?
Yeah, Max
But,
Schreck's teeth, or like,
yeah.
he looked like a rat more than a bat or anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the two front teeth in that one. And that was a forgot another thing to point out was um, Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck / Orlok in what the fuck was that movie?
Shadow.
No,
Shadow of the Vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire. Yeah.
That's what I kind of meant.
Yeah, I realized that after you said it. I was like, oh shit, yeah.
Because there's the Nick Cage Kiss of the Vampire, I think, and then
Yeah,
Shadow. I get those mixed up a little bit, but yeah.
right.
Also, what's his face? John Malkovich was F.W.
Mhm.
Murnau
Yep.
when he was making it, which is a fun spin-off.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like, what if Max Schreck was actually a vampire?
Right.
And they're like, okay, so like when he's on set, he's only ever going to be in character. You know, he's going to be like this all the time.
But the Shadow Man is not so easily defeated. The Shadow Man picks up himself, gains the courage and strength of 1,000 shadows, and
Oh.
scares his victims.
You fucking prick. Jesus.
Oh, there's a lot of, one of the things I want to point out was there's many points of awesome like cinematography,
Yeah, talk about that a little bit.
but in this, there's a lot of fun stuff. The one I pointed out, the one that stuck out most to me, was a fun directional tool, like a to lead you across your eyes across the screen, and fucking, it was during the scene where he shows up at the little town or the little
Like a village.
encampment or whatever, yeah, and he gets there and there's that band, and then you look at the fiddle player, and then it moves you to look at the tambourine drum guy, and then to the mandolin guy, and then so it's leading your eye across the thing, and then it brings in like a dancer who pulls you around, and then he then does this move where he bends backwards, and then that points you to the character, to a woman dancing behind him on a porch or whatever, which is the inn porch where the owner eventually comes out. So it's this cool little directional device that carries you around this image and directs you into the, yeah, I just thought that was really cool.
That was a highlight. And then later on, and I mentioned it a little bit, but there's a video game, Bloodborne, which a lot of people probably are aware of, that uses heavy cello, in its soundtrack.
Yeah.
And there is a deep cello resonance in this movie. And
Cello.
specifically when he's at that crossroads waiting for that carriage to show up, because he doesn't have a horse anymore, right? He after he woke up from that little village, and everybody
took
left.
all the shit and we're gone.
Yeah, everybody's like, all right, thanks for the horse, boy.
Yeah.
He goes and he's waiting at this crossroads. It was the same scene kind of in Bloodborne, where you wait for this horse-drawn carriage with no driver, and it just opens by itself.
Yeah.
The doors open ghostly, and you get in, and it just takes you to the castle, which is
Right.
the same event. And I think it's probably used in other media too. Like there's another old silent film, I think, called The Phantom Carriage, which is basically that same concept, where it's like the carriage that is like the boat of Charon, that takes you across the river, or it's the thing that brings you to the afterlife. That's that concept, but in those, death is driving the carriage. So
Right.
in Bloodborne, though, you basically get into this horse-drawn carriage, and you end up at a castle of like a Dracula or a vampire community. And
Mm-hmm.
once you get there, you kind of go insane because you look back and there's no bridge that leads, that you could have been on to travel to that castle.
Right.
And the horses and the carriage are frozen and like corpses. So it's like, oh, what happened? And you basically either dreamt or you
Bring
envisioned.
up.
You kind of you went insane. I was thinking
Right.
like your sanity is like leaving your mind. Like that's like one of the basic functions or mechanics of the game is that you're going insane. So you could have dreamt this
Right.
stuff or something else. And that scene in the movie, I was like, oh my god, this is like reminiscent of that scene and that sequence. And I was like,
Yeah,
I
big
love
time.
it. That was a big highlight, was the horses getting closer and closer to Nick Holt.
Also, I love that shot too of him. I think it's when he's on his way before the horse's carriage shows up.
Yeah.
When he's walking through on that like road through the trees,
Yeah.
and he's just like framed in the light behind him, and it's like he's leaving the light and entering into darkness.
That's another
That
good
was super
point
cool.
too. Yeah, and like looking at the moon and things like that. Like that moon was just ghostly white. It didn't have like any, reflection of the sun. It was like almost emitting just a ghostly white light the whole time.
I'm just kind of thinking about it now too, like so like when he first shows up, and then like really cool two of them obscuring Orlok in darkness or like out of focus or whatever, so you don't quite see what he looks like at that point.
Right. Which is
But like,
great use of shadows, like in
oh yeah,
the Morneau film.
great shadow play.
Awesome shadow play. Top notch horse
They
picture.
like, but it's also symbolically too is like, Nicholas Holt is coming from the light right into there, and then right away when he's there, he's the only one bathed in light, right? He's got the fire or like a candle or something on him, right? So he's still in the light. But by the time he ends up leaving, he's not in the light anymore. He's like shrouded, like the darkness has kind of come over him. And like so it's like I just kind of thought about that now where I'm pretty sure once he spends a amount of time and when the suck starts to happen, then I think he's not really bathed in light anymore like he was when he got there.
Right.
When he gets the big suck, post big suck, even until probably the end maybe. But
Yeah, and if you think about it as Orlok just being, again, just a manifestation or like a creature of darkness that is latched on to Alan's character, the woman that she...
literally like a leech, like sucking the life and the light out of somebody, right?
Yeah, he's inevitably tied to her, and by, just being in her vicinity is tied to Thomas, because he is like the source of her love, and that what is making her so full of that hope and love that inevitably kills him at the end. Like she keeps him there close to her, so he can't escape that, and he's just so like infatuated or like he's lustful.
But he can't. Yeah, I was gonna say he can't
Satiate.
He can't escape it either. Like he can't help himself because of he brings it up. Is like I can't feel love.
Right.
Like, but I am like I am drawn to you, and I have to be with you. And so it's like, so when it feels like he's about to like succeed and kind of finally dragging her down with him, she's like, "Nope, bitch, I got you." And then he's like, "Shit, but I can't help myself."
Right.
So I'm just doomed. You know what I mean? He's got caught in his own shenanigans.
And I like how we discuss this and go deeper with the concepts and things like that, and not taking it straight off of like, oh yeah, it's
No.
the same kind of vampire idea as Dracula, but making it seem like he was trying to tell something different, like an allegory or some kind of quick
Something a little more visceral.
reference to a concept, like a higher concept,
Mhm.
but subtly done and not like
Yeah.
subliminally executed. But you could look at it
Yeah.
as like, oh yeah, it's just Dracula, but you could also see it as like an analogy for depression or an analogy for plague and disease and psychoanalysis and things like that, or
Right.
a bunch of other stuff.
Because that does, like, I understand when I said at the beginning, like, it sounds like it's diminishing it by just saying, like, it's the story of Dracula. I just mean, like, historically, like, that's just what the story of Nosferatu is it's just a retelling of Dracula.
Mhm.
But that is, like, the most, especially when it comes to this movie, that's, like, the most base analysis, you know what I mean? Like, that's just what the basic storyline is it's the Dracula storyline.
Yep.
But what he does with it and what he morphs it into and what you can get out of it is vastly beyond that. So
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, thinking it like that, where it's like, oh, this is just like another retelling of Dracula.
Yeah.
The surface level is essentially that, but
Yeah.
how we connected with it was everything else. It was like,
Yeah.
our eyes were glued to the mood and the atmosphere and the telling
couldn't take my eyes away.
and the darkness and just like the foreboding,
Mhm.
claustrophobic, all this stuff was just like connecting with me on a different level than the other retellings of Dracula was. Because like when we watched the Bela Lugosi
Yeah.
Dracula, the whole time I was like, oh yeah, this dude is just so cunning and like he's
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm suave, like I'm just
Yep.
sex incarnate. Look at me, I'm just awesome.
You can't help but do what I say.
Right, you're just compelled. I'm hypnotizing,
Yeah.
and I can just do that. Where
Yeah.
like in this one, Nicholas Holt's character Thomas was just like he just had nightmares, and
Yep.
it didn't seem like when what's his face? I want to say Fritz, but was that his
Aaron
name?
Taylor Johnson's character?
No, the dude from the Bela Lugosi one that shows up at the castle, Renfield, right? Renfield.
Yeah. Yeah.
When Renfield
yeah.
shows up, he's just like infatuated. He's like, "Oh yeah, let's just let me help you." He's like doting and like not really.
Yeah.
You know,
Lovesick puppy.
yeah, he's like, I just want people to hang out with me and like me or whatever. So I'll do
Yeah.
whatever. And then he goes insane. And like when
Right.
when there's that shot of him on the Demeter, like looking up at the police, like, hey, we come here for that coffin. He's like, come get it, like
Yeah. Yeah.
over my dead body. Thomas just seemed to like, Nicholas Holt's character just seemed to be like in a constant fever dream the whole time.
Yes.
And it took nuns to basically bring him back to life. Like,
Yeah.
bring him back to the light,
Yep. That's why he didn't die or whatever. Didn't
Right.
succumb to the plague. He didn't get the plague
Yeah, they
or whatever.
they
Something.
treated him well.
Yep.
But yeah, that
Let
was
the demons out.
just an interesting contrast because Nicholas Holt played Renfield also, which is very interesting. All these
Mhm.
ties to
Right.
different types of vampires, like Nick
Well,
Cage
and the
being in
Bella.
Kiss, and then being
Yeah.
in Renfield, and then Willem Dafoe
Yep.
being in Nosferatu or Shadow of the Vampire. Like,
Yep.
it's interesting.
They well, that was the thing too in the Universal, the Bela Lugosi one. They take what's his name, fucking Keanu Reeves' character in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Mhm.
Essentially the Nicholas Hoult character.
Yep.
In the Universal Dracula one, they basically take the first part of his storyline, which is they use in this too, where he goes to Transylvania to make the deal with Dracula / Orlok, and they give that to Renfield in the Universal one,
Right.
that part to him, and that's how he gets enslaved or whatever, put in the service of Dracula. And that made a cool. I liked that. That addendum's kind of cool instead of just dude out of nowhere that's obsessed. In this one, they kind of combine Renfield with Thomas's boss, right?
Yeah, Canuck or Knock.
Yeah. So they kind of combine those two characters into that. Yeah, there's just it's fun. It's fun seeing all these different connections and portrayals and all that stuff.
I quickly want to talk about just this. Like we talked about, where you mentioned the shadow play that was going on. A lot of great shadow play.
Dude, the hand across the town, dude, the one that they show in the trailer.
Yeah,
great shadow play.
Awesome shadow play.
Great shadow play.
But a lot of these, this movie, the original F.W. Murnau one, had to walk, so Eggars could run with his shadow play.
Dude,
because
it's the classic silhouette of Nosferatu with his hands out, dude.
Exactly. There was a shot like that.
Shadow play, dude.
There was a shot just like that where the Nosferatu Billy Skarsgård did, where he basically can like project his shadow inside a door where Nicholas Hoult is, but somehow his shadow unlocks it, so when it opens, he's standing on the other side of it. Like the camera trickery with the shadow play. He wasn't
just making shadow play; the shadows were playing.
The shadows were on full display, playing with like
playing games, dude.
Just playing so many games, doing things that is like evokes just darkness. The Shadow Man just coming in, plunging the world in darkness, stealing all your poop and eating your apples.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could go through this too and find shots that he straight up, used or homaged. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's pretty cool. He needs to like complete his like Infinity Gauntlet of Skarsgårds. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah. He had Alexander and Northman.
Yeah.
And he got Bill in this. He needs to get Papa Stellan in something.
You got to get Stellan doing something.
You got to get that other brother that was in Vikings.
Right.
I think there's even another brother that's like younger than us. Even younger, like the youngest one, I think acts too. I think. Got to complete the Infinity Stones of Skarsgårds. But yeah, it was very, very enjoyable. Very. I was gonna say back like the thing about the movie too is like it took its time with stuff, but it did not feel slow.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
Like when the movie was over, I didn't think it. I was like, oh wow, it's over already. But like at the same time, like it didn't. The pace of it was such that it took its time with things, but it did not feel just drawn out or like, boring or anything like that. It kept you entranced the whole time.
Yeah, and it definitely needed that. Like, I would say it's strongest in the like first half hour. Like,
100%.
It's the super strong start, but also within that first half hour, you don't see a whole lot of Willem Dafoe's character. Right, he shows up in the later stages, and he was a big highlight. Like he basically
shows up in Act 2.
He shows up and he's like, all right, you guys need to change your perspective here. Like I'm with the occult. I know shadow play. I know what's happening here. The Shadow Man is coming to steal your poop. You gotta release the bondages on her, like untie her.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Set her free. You're only making it worse.
Right.
He like, and that's like with Act 1. Or maybe even into the beginning of Act 2, I don't know. But like, you get, obviously you get all the setup of the stuff, and you get, the exciting parts of. I don't know. Would you say him in the castle is Act 1 still, or would you say that's Act 2?
I say when Act 2 starts is when Nicholas Hoult like escapes
the castle,
and like makes his way back. Yeah.
because then it's him. Then it's yeah. Because then it's this old boy going from there to Germany,
On the boat.
Orlok
Yeah.
on the boat, and then which I don't think you even need to do. I think you can just straight shot it. Well, maybe not. I was thinking of like that was a thing from Dracula that made sense because they had to go across the water to get to England. But I don't know that you have to get from Transylvania to Germany, but maybe you do. The Yeah, because then that happens, and then you get Holt back in town, and then they're trying to like figure stuff out. It's all basically like setting up Act 3 essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the action kind of dies down, but all the stuff, all the performances and everything during that section, especially since you get old Billy Boy in there, William Defoe, dude. Then that becomes some of the charm and entertainment in that section for sure.
Well, yeah, because he gives the audience like, hey, I have a solution, and hey, I know exactly what Ellen needs to do, and hey,
Mm-hmm.
we have our own plan. We're gonna go kill who we think is the right guy, but it's actually the decoy in the catacombs.
Right.
And they waste no time just shoving a poker.
Shoving us all in that hole, dude.
Yeah.
He was it Bill Skarsgård's voice is just great. That dude can do good things with his voice.
Yeah, he I think I listened to him talk about how he did Mongolian throat singing or like vocal warm-ups for Mongolian.
Makes sense.
Because he talks like this.
Yeah, because it's the opposite end of his Pennywise voice, right? Pennywise voice is more up in his upper register.
Yeah.
And then this is all down here. It sounds like a different person. You know what I mean? It's not just it doesn't sound like a dude doing two different types of voices. It sounds like two different people. You know what I mean?
See, I initially thought right away this dude is trying to do a John Rhys Davies Treebeard.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like, Bora Rome. I was waiting for the Treebeard drop to happen.
Right.
A tree? I am no tree. I am an ant. I was waiting for him to say something like that. I am an ant.
a Nosferatu.
To capstone this,
Nosferatu, dude.
Right. Really to end this discussion, Groucho, I'm going to let you take it away with all the comic book tie-in characters we had in this film, because we did.
Oh God, we did.
We talked a little bit about that.
We have Nicholas Holt, aka Beast, aka Lex Luthor. You have Aaron Taylor Johnson, Quicksilver, aka Kraven the Hunter, aka Kick-Ass. You got Willem Dafoe, aka Green Goblin. You got fucking oh God, who else was there's somebody else, I swear to God.
Yeah, there is. Emma Corrin,
aka fucking Cassandra Nova. There was a point where they were all in a carriage together. And the only person that wasn't superhero was like Lily Rose Depp, maybe, or something. One of the other characters, or the Doctor, something. It was just like all of these people have been in superhero.
But you also said he's going to be Galactus.
Oh yeah, the guy that's the one I forgot. The Doctor, the guy who plays the Doctor, is Ralph Ineson.
Yeah, Ralph Ineson.
Who's going to be playing Galactus in the Fantastic Four movie.
So we had like Cassandra Nova, Kraven / Kick-Ass / Quicksilver.
Yeah.
We had Beast.
The only one that wasn't out of that main human cast, I should say, is Lily Rose Depp. That's it.
I thought that was.
And then
really
as far
funny.
as the movie goes, yeah, it's hilarious. As far as the whole movie goes, Lily Rose Depp and Bill Skarsgård, but they're gonna snatch up Bill at some point. I know it.
They should. I mean, he should play some kind of
Get him to play Swamp Thing.
or some wacky character where he can do a voice.
Yeah.
Really hide himself in the role.
So I was thinking Swamp Thing because he could do that. Do a Swamp Thing voice.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun little.
Yeah, it was hilarious when we had that realization. Just sitting there. everybody.
I just noticed that this guy in this hospital, he's wearing the
Yeah.
same coat that Nicholas Holt wore when he was
Oh,
traveling.
Mickey Holt.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
he's wearing that same kind of with those weird capes on the side.
Little like half cape back pauldron shenanigans.
Yeah. But yeah,
Hell yeah!
fun discussion. And
I just keep thinking "Always Sunny" when the subtitles pop up there. Woobles.
The Woobles sent me
the
some.
Woobles sent me
crochets
some
to try.
cool little crochet
Today's
kit.
episode brought to you by Woobles. JK.
The Shadow Man.
Brought to you by the Shadow Man.
There he is, kids.
It is kind of
The
amazing how this is
Shadow Man.
exactly
Be
Nosferatu. But
or he'll
I thought so
steal
too.
your pup and show you his fingers.
He shows the whole world his fingers.
No.
Yep.
I'm going to plunge the world into darkness.
No, you won't. Oxros will protect us. We shine a light upon you.
Got him.
Ah.
Take that.
nice.
The light. The light.
Thanks for joining us at Fargonauts. Don't forget to support Hugging the Sun and
Yeah.
Shadow Man.
Light.